Hello, everyone. The topic for the day is human and industrial psychology. Remember, we are a society, we live in a society, we are all human beings, we have intelligence to guide us. Within the society, there are certain rules and regulations that we need to follow out of. Now, these rules and regulations are also there in the place of our work, be it the company, organization, or the industry that we go around it. For this particular purpose, as a human beings, we have emotions and there might be unbalances, so that we need to have those checks and balances in place. When this has to be there in the society and within the organization, the study is known as human and industrial psychology. Fundamentally, this particular presentation I've borrowed heavily from Society of Industrial and Organizational Psychology. Basically, what we will be talking about it. Remember, it is SIOP. So we have taken it from basically from this, and I will give you a lot of resources with Society for Industrial and Organizational Psychology. Let us describe the importance of industrial and organizational psychology. Henceforth, I will call it as an I psychology. So, what is the importance that it has on the person's life? Remember, approximately one third of our lifespan we spent in our organization, we spent in our office, we live in the industry that we go for. So here it is, SIOP that I was saying. So, what is an IO psychology? All fields of IO psychology. There are basically three fields, which is of personal psychology as a human being. This psychology that would go around it. Every organization or is an organism, and every organization has its own behavior. That is the organizational psychology. We'll talk about it. Last but not the least is human engineering. So the three fields that we talk about is personal psychology, organizational psychology, and human engineering. So as a resource, where have I taken? I've already said the resource thing. www.siop.org, which tells me, gives a lot of data. I would request all the audience of this particular video to go out there. It's a mecca for IO psychology is concerned. So we'll talk about the history at a glance. We'll talk about the membership information. We'll talk about the quarterly newsletters that comes around it. We have to talk about the resources of JobNet. Now, this is we are looking at it, the educational institutes and the list of publication as far as Society for Industrial and Organization concern. Remember, this session can help you to address work stress, work life balance, or work family balance, that discrimination that exists in the workplace, and the attributes of the leadership or the paucity of leaders that is there in the work in the times to come, which we need to go around for the 21st century. Past, the present, the future of industrial and organizational psychology. The past are the important dates and events. I will subsequently state it out in my next forthcoming slide. The present are the demographic and the career path. We are evolving. The society is evolving. The products are getting complex and easier. Remember, the profession that were existing 50 years back are no longer existent as of today, and the professions that are existing right of today will be extinguished in 20 years time or so. So we have those future challenges of IO psychology. The sense of uncertainty has crept into the minds of the workers, the professionals, and so on and so forth. We need to keep ourselves updated. Should I say updated? Let us refine it to getting upgraded. We need to redefine ourselves, reinvent ourselves time and again. Look at this picture. We have got a, I've got a wonderful picture. Look at the people watching there. Look at the people who's watching out here. Look at the people who are getting disinterested. Everybody has got a different take. You see, this is a car which is almost drowned. God knows whether there are people inside it or not. For the sake of argument, we don't see it. But look, some people are actually enjoying to look out here, and some people are actually ignoring it. This is what I wanted to tell it to you. And then there is this gentleman who has a task at hand and getting things to be rescued in an over flooded situation. This picture shows tells volumes about psychology. As a result, I have depicted it in this particular presentation for your and a brief history of IO psychology. It was initiated approximately 150 years from now. In 1876, 1930, Hugh Munzberg, James McKean, Kettle Welter, and Bingham, they thought out what exactly is the thought process of people as a group, people as a community, people as a crowd. Can we have those controlling abilities of the group, of the crowd? That is where the army alpha and the army beta test we have come across with. Popularly nowadays it is known as A/B testing. We are talking about A/B testing every now and then. The option number one and option number two, which option is better? So, 1917, when the first PhD was awarded under industrial psychology to none other than the Nobel laureate Lillian Gilbert, who has been propounded the Thermalics or the theory of motion. But here it is written time and motion study. It is all about human engineering, about Lillian Gilbert, 19 way back in 1917, approximately 105 years before today, as we 1930 to 1964 was the study of industrial utilization. Now, what has it been all about it? All about it. It was the human relation studies about the Hawthorne experiment, where it tells about the hygiene factor, the work ambience, the atmosphere of the office, the industry, the company, which actually has a major role on the productivity of the employee. This is the place, this was the time when human relation movement was in full swing. Theories of motivation came out here, emotional world of workers, the studies of job satisfaction. Come forward was the World War III, the Civil Rights Acts of 1964, and the title number 7 was awarded. At this point of time, remember, I'm just trying to give you a brief glimpse into the history of IO psychology. The demographic, approximately 22 years back, approximately only a fragment of the percentage were American Psychology Association member. Fragment, less than 6% were the American Psychology Association member, APA members. And remember, of that 6%, approximately 30% were female. Approximately that total American Psychology Association members, 6% were IO certified, IO qualified. Of that 6% comprises 30% belongs to the female gender. The qualification was about PhD or a master degree holders in industrial and organization psychology. We will talk about where they are employed. They are generally employed in the academics, the consulting, or the other. Probably you can consider me as an industrial and organizational psychology, because only if you are good at it can you become the HRBP, a human resource business partner, to understand the gamut of things, to implement it, the change the corporate is wanting, to have a sense of we feeling, have a sense of belongingness towards the organization. So we have maximum, or should I say approximately more than one third will be academics. Then comes approximately 50% would be occupied only in consulting and private organization that is there out here, and a fragment is in the government sectors, and less minuscule percentage would be working in other sectors, other non-governmental, non-profitable sectors, as the case might be. So let us come to the challenges of IO psychology in the prevalent century. It is, please understand, things are becoming very dynamic, things are moving and changing as with a blink of an eye. We have to be relevant, we have to be useful, we have to be grounded in scientific methodology. Why this thing is required? Because of the dynamic natures of the environment, be it business, be it society, be it anything else. People are creeping out, people are forgetting, or probably are not coming up very openly about their apprehension. People are reactive differently, their reactions are not as they used to be. Why? This inherent fear that has been creeped into their mindset altogether. So industrial psychologies and organizational psychologies and individual psychologies has to be pertinent, it has to be dutiful, it has to be grounded in scientific method, it needs to be relevant, it needs to be updated on a changes in workplace since 1980. What are the various changes which has happened in last 50 odd years? Precisely 52 years. Probably computer had made its appearances early, and right now it is prevalent extensively in any workplace. You will look into it. A lot of work, a lot of human position has been occupied by the computer. The computer has done a lot of things, primarily in the accounts department. You don't require a lot of assistant executive clerk, as you may call it. A lot of jobs can be done by the computer. You just have to feed the data and they'll do it for yourself. So we have come into telecommuting and virtual teams. Yes, this particular videos you are doing it at the cozy of your place, right? This is all about telecommuting, virtual video conferencing, as the case might be. Then we term of service and manufacturing good. What needs to be taken into consideration? Should we purchase a good or should we manufacture it on our premises itself? The nature of work has become more fluid and more dynamic, susceptible to lot of changes. Things have been made to order rather than be manufactured in bulk. So we are getting more used to the team concept rather than an individual concept. Now the individual glories are fading away, a system is getting into place, a team member is what it is all about it. So we'll talk about little stability. Why? Because things are fluidic, right? Things what is normal today will not be a normal tomorrow, it will be becoming absolutely necessary tomorrow. Things which are a luxury today will be absolutely considered normal day after tomorrow, and so on and so forth. Family and friendly workplace, we are moving from a formal environment to an informal environment. Why? Because everything is available, data, knowledge, and invoices, everything is getting transparent, people know each other. So there is a greater diversity in the work. People from all walks of life are coming together to form a team. Now we say the global workplace, it's a small minuscule village. A person from different time zone can actually service the client from a different time zone altogether. In totality, it is a global village. In doesn't matter in which continent you are based in, you can manifold do business in different continent other than yours. So, multicultural and cross-cultural issues in IO psychology. The cultural needs to be defined system in which individual shares meaning, in which common methodology has been evolved over a period of time. It is all about analyzing the events and objects. The sharing this thing together is all of interpretation. You look, we have a person from a different continent, as you might say from Asia or Far East Asia, and then there is a person from the African continent, both working hand in hand at the same time, delivering results for the company, for the organization. This is a viable photographs of multicultural and cross-cultural issues. Then is the cultural determinants of the workplace. Now, if you look into it, the individual is the crux of the thing. The cultural self representation is bottom up, and as we grow from individual to become the family, from family to group culture, then comes the organization where he or she is working around it. The organization itself is embodied into a nationalistic culture that goes around it. But remember, the organization, the national cultures are nowadays intrined and intertwined with the global culture. So if there is a tornado in one part of the globe, the supply chain gets disrupted and it get affected in the place of the earth where there was no tornadoes in the first place. So you need to have something called either a bottom up approach or a top down approach. What approach that you want to go around it, that is what the process across the level of culture that needs to be. Now we'll talk about the workforce, the multicultural workforce in the present century. Why it is important? Why should you consider it for industrial and organizational psychology and in issues surrounding the global economy, expatriate, the West versus the rest? This is what we are going around it with vis-a-vis the developed economy, vis-a-vis the developing economy, the upcoming economies. How do you go about the distribution of the wealth? What is it that the pollution is creating? What is it the global warming is creating? Who is getting impacted? What and how can we, is it masculinity and femininity that goes around it? So power distance, individuality, masculinity, femininity, uncertainty, and long term that we go around it. If we plotted these things, the styles of Hofstede theories on the x-axis and on the y-axis, if we measure it, you will see different cultures, countries are floating out there. Look for China, look for France. They have a mix of what, and look for United States. They have mix for everything. In this, only so Indonesia would go for individualism or collectivism, as the case might be. It is all about power distance goes around it, and it can be plotted. Think about it in your organization, probably in your society, of not in your country. I think every leaders would have their own style of power distance, of individualism, of collectivism, of masculinity, of uncertainty, of long term relationship or a short term relationship that one aspires to bring in. This is where the Henry Triandis variation comes in. Henry Triandis, wonderful author on to industrial and organizational psychology of Hofstede dimensions of individual culturism. We have the horizontal culture and the vertical culture. Horizontal cultures are culture where there are no distance between two individuals, where vertical cultures are cultures which are long distance between individuals. Now this is a long distance, which means mention there are power. So he might or she might be of higher pedigree or higher position, and the other fellow might be on a lower position. In this case, it doesn't matter who is higher or who are lower. The distance is minimum. They are approachable. They are communicable. Now you need to decide which is the style which goes best. Henry Tyndall's variation will come to. Here it is, Henry Titus. On the x-axis is collectivism and individualism. On the y-axis would be horizontal and vertical. That is what we go around it as a company. If this is a company, this is vertical and this is horizontal, and this can come in different level also, right? Any level you can go around it. So we look it into it and we'll give you an example. See, at the horizontal and the culturalism, Israel are the one of the countries which tells you which has very closely knit and everything is spoken transparent with one another. Then we have the European cultures of being individualistic and horizontal at the same time. Definitely yes, but what happened when individualistic and vertical things comes up? It's the American culture which comes around and creeps in. Probably Germany also squeezing the same thing. But look at it with collectivism and vertical. It is all about the Asian countries, be it India, China, or Greece. Greece being a European country, nevertheless, we need to go around it. So it is mostly country specific. The way you want to propaganda your lives, the way you want to look forward towards it, it's what has been mentioned by Henry Tyndall, cultural determinants of workplace. I hope this particular graph shows you everything. X-axis we have built collectivism and individualism. Y-axis is the criteria of the horizontal, the position in the position of the persons involved in a company, be it horizontal or vertical. Speak around it. So with this, we come to an end of this sense wherein we talk about the unified science and the holistic approaches. Nothing else. Thank you very much for watching this video.